Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. It's the weekend, last day of the weekend, actually, and we are going to get into our final special selection before we head into next week's theme. This one comes at us from Rasmus Larson. It says The Last Lost Continent by La Dispute, an emo epic. I'm kind of excited about this. I can't say that I've necessarily listened to anything that I would consider an emo epic, but a 12-minute emo song, yeah, I guess I'm down for that. Let's see what's going on here.
I felt your sickness brush against my arm as I walked by you. Heard your voice, but couldn't tell that it was you. And slowly watched your sickness slip away into a place that I'd once feared, but I was not afraid this time. So I gave chase and found it finally, slowly feeding from your head.
I really like the desperation in the voice paired with the lyrical topic.
So I grabbed it by the neck. For every lover you have ruined,
It's also an interesting contrast to the music, which is fairly delightful, a bit pensive.
Slammed its head against the brick. Its blood poured out onto the pavement. I started in with dirt and spit. I will take a part of you. I made mortar from the mix. Tore every organ from its body. Broke its bone and fashioned bricks. I laid the mortar in between. I made a throne for hope to sit. So long you've torn us into pieces, firmly held onto our wrists. Today I bury you in me. I swallowed every inch of it.
Interesting, all that build-up to be dispersed into a bass kick. Alright, we got some dotted quarters. Yeah, interesting. They laid down the metronome and immediately went with a different rhythmic pattern. Yeah. The double stop. Yeah, the drum bit is getting very upbeat. All right.
Will be set free from
moved to a 7, which is interesting. And there's also a real lack of time there. There isn't really there aren't really any emphasized beats, which really creates just this looping feel of not going anywhere, but also not having been anywhere, just sitting still.
But I still see him dead in the parking lot at the gas station just down the street, and I still hear my friends say, you know, you wouldn't believe the things I saw when I was stationed overseas. But he somehow keeps smiling in spite of all of that, while I keep finding ways to push the good out for the bad. Oh, how selfish of myself to always say that it was more than I could take, like it was pain I couldn't shake, like it could break me with its fingers, throw my body in the lake and I would slowly sink away. But the truth is it was sorrow that I made and wouldn't face. See, I keep falling for the future after tripping on the past, and I am always tearing sutures out to make the anguish last. I can define
It's interesting how much difference the bass makes. The atmosphere here fits the lyrical content rather than contrasting it, despite the guitar parts being almost identical to the last time. First time the vocalist has used the word we rather than I or me or you. And we have a group vocal on this as well. They continue to find inventive ways of emphasizing different beats in this set, or in some sections, not emphasizing any of the beats. Yeah, they continue to set up these moments of silence and play around with expectations, and I really dig that.
I will give your heart a place to rest when everything you had is turned and left.
So this idea of repetition is actually shown up quite a few times. Repetition into simplicity. song
my
later.
ribcage, blood hearts inside my chest. Regain the passion I once carried. Do away with all the rest. I tore the sickness from your body, smashed its head against the bricks. I made a castle from its bones that you may always dwell in it. So take for every
Yeah,
buried
we're back in 4-4.
moment
I'm not
that
sure
you
if that
thought
happened in
would
the last bar
never
section or
end.
not.
And sing your fears about the future and a search for faded friends. For all the love that you had held to, why it somehow failed to keep. And sing each minute you've been frightened, every hour that you've lost sleep. And sing for all your friends and family, sing for those who did survive, but sing not for their final outcome. Sing a song of how they tried. We live amidst the violent storm, lives us unsatisfied at best. So fill your hearts with what's important and be done with all the rest. We are what's left of what we once were. We are falling far behind. There's so much stacking up against us, and we're running out of time. We are but hopeful children, and we're the last of our kind. But if we let our hearts move onward, I know we will never. We are but friends and family. We are the last of our kind. So hold my hand, I'll lift your head up, and I promise we'll be fine. We are but hopeful lovers, and we are running out of time. There's so much stacking up against us, and we're falling far behind. We are but hopeful lovers. We are the last of our kind. But if we let our hearts move outward, I know we will never. We are but lovers. We are the last of our kind. And if we let our hearts move outward, I know we will never. We are but lovers. We are the last of our kind. And if we let our hearts move outward, we will never die.
All right. So there's a lot of thematic elements in there that are present throughout that I really want to touch on. The first is going to be the idea of setting expectations and then subverting them. It happens so often rhythmically. I'm not going to say they really do this too often melodically or harmonically, but rhythmically this happens too often for me not to see it as some sort of thematic idea. I don't know how it ties into some of the lyrical elements, if it even does, but I gotta talk about this. The first time we saw it was in the first heavy section, I think it was, when I mentioned I think there were two guitar lines, a drum and a bass, and then every so often the drum and bass would just cut out, right? And it would leave just the two guitars playing their lines, and then the drum and bass would come back in, and it's sort of like creating this void because they really do fill in a lot of the lower end, and it creates a sparser sound, and they come back in with the punch. So they did this a few times, and they changed it up. The first time it was like 2 beats one time. The second time they did it, it was 2 beats per, but it was 2 times. And they just kept changing up. Sometime, once I think they were like gone for 4 beats. The other time they were gone for 1 beat, and then the bass held out a note where they would have played silence, but the drums didn't come back in yet. So they set up these expectations of, hey, every once in a while, we're just going to cut out and we're going to come back and you're going to get to hear, this line again. And then they cut out and they don't come back. And they don't come back. And then, like, a full phrase later, maybe they just finished out the phrase. It's like 2 to 4 words. It wasn't super long, but it felt a lot longer than everything we had seen before that. They come back in with the vocalist and with a new sound floor or maybe an extra layer on top of the two guitars we already had, and we go into the first verse proper. And it's stuff like this that happens all throughout the song where they set up these rhythmic expectations and then play around with it. Um, and it tends to be more along the lines of those moments when it's purely the instruments and they're really just spending their time sitting in these pockets and looping the singular idea over and over while rhythmically it gets played around with. And it happened at least 3 times. I think the vocalist did actually get to join in one of these events, one of these ideas later on. I don't quite remember, but I don't remember when it was, but I'm pretty sure there was a time when I thought, yeah, all right, so the vocalist gets to join in with the drums and doing this, this unusual, almost improvisational aspect. Um, and yeah, it's like I said, it happens so often. It's like this moment of uncertainty in the listener. You never know what's going to happen. They could just omit the pause, omit the change completely. They could change up the change. They could change up how often they do the change. Um, and yeah, I would have to go back through the song again to pinpoint all the times when this happens. But the first time is definitely the one that stood out to me. And like I said, I was looking for it, and it happened a few times after that as well. The other thing that really stands out to me is I just blanked out on it. Hopefully we can come back to that. I do want to talk about the vocal tension, the vocal delivery, and how it lines up with and against the music. The vocals are desperate. I mentioned that word earlier. I said the vocalist sounds desperate. He's singing desperately or in desperation, something like that. Um, and I understand that that is just kind of the emo style of singing. You push to that breaking point between your chest and your head voice, and you just kind of sit in there without compressing and honing it like you would for a fry vocal. You just let it be wild. Um, and it sounds, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. To me, it sounds like your stereotypical, going through puberty kind of teenager. And the voice is just sitting there cracking all the time. And to me, it's sort of an awkward sound. I grew up with it. I grew up listening to a lot of emo music in my high school days. So I am acclimated to it to a point. But there's still that part in the back of my mind when this doesn't. There's a part of my mind that says this isn't singing. This is almost being annoying, right? Um, that was a weird tangent. Had nothing to do with what I was talking about. Let's get back to. Come on, Brian. Let's get back into it. Let's go back to where I was going with the desperation. Now, the one of the few times that somebody will let their voice go and crack and just be wild is when they don't care about what they're sounding like, usually in moments of fear or desperation or sorrow. Those moments of very raw, powerful emotion. What your voice sounds like is not going to be what you're most concentrated on. Usually it's what is at hand that is making you feel these extreme emotions. Um, so I get a lot of that extremity through his vocal delivery. It sounds desperate, it sounds extreme, it sounds simultaneously disheartened and disappointed and more dis words. There's some sadness to it, there's some regret to it. And it's interesting how at the beginning of the song, when we had, I think it was just the guitars, maybe the drums were playing with him, but The vocals seemed to contrast the music. There was a little bit of tension in the musical work, but for the most part, it was fairly harmonious, kind of positive, had a nice pluckiness to it. I wouldn't say it was downtrodden or sorrowful or anything like that. Definitely did not match up with his vocal delivery. However, one verse later, the bass comes in and completely changes the atmospheric tension there, and that part ends up feeling more harmonious with his delivery. And the song, I think, has more impact there. It could also have been the words. I was trying to listen to them because a lot of the music was fairly repetitive. So I was listening into as many of the words as I could because I feel like this is definitely a song that, as with most epics, I kind of get the feeling the lyrics are important, especially if you're writing a 12-minute song, and I would say 8 minutes of those are words. I feel like there's definitely an emphasis there, and they should be listened to understand the whole song. Unfortunately, as I've mentioned many times before, I'm not a poetic analysis. I'm not a poetic analyzer. So even if I can pick up on words, it's possible that the intentions of the poetry of the lyrics still go over my head on a first listen. But for this, what I did pick up on though was a lot of regret and disappointment and sorrow. The song, the main chorus that gets repeated throughout the end to finish out the song is something along the lines of "We're a dying race, we are the lovers, but as long as we keep pushing on, we won't die." Something along those lines. So there's a bit of um, nihilism in it, but also a tinge of positivity. He twists it. He says we're a dying breed. There's not many more of us. He has all these regrets that he talks about through the song. Um, but then at the end, he still says, we'll pull through this, right? There is some positivity, and we can get out of the mud that we're in. So I want to bring that around to the other thing I want to talk about, which is what I forgot about earlier, but it works better this way. This is such a better logical movement between ideas. Um, is repetitive cycles. They are thrown throughout this entire song, even though there is 12 minutes of song here, there's really only a few different ideas. We have a very clear verse, chorus idea. There's a bit of a bridge. It's just there's a lot of long, drawn out explorations of these ideas. And I think the most interesting aspect is how long we sit inside of standard ideas without any change or build or layering or anything like that. So, we have musical ideas that loop upon themselves for multiple minutes at a time. No changes, no layerings, no embellishment, the same thing. And we can actually see this in the lyrical aspect as well. There's a couple of lines. First of all, the chorus gets repeated just a ton. I know it's a long song. We have long chorus length. The length of the chorus is actually pretty lengthy. The tempo doesn't do that any favors. I mean, the tempo just drags all these portions out, anyways. But the chorus is repeated many times throughout. And there's actually one section, it might have been the bridge, where the vocalist with gang vocals, I think it was more than just him, would say something, and then he would use his distorted vocal to say something after, and it was a repeated idea like "we won't die, we will survive" or something like that. Um, it was "I promise you, I promise you." That's what it was. Um, so we see these ideas of repeating the same words, the same lyrics, the same concepts over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And we have a word for that. It's called a mantra, especially when used as it is here in light of positivity to encourage oneself or others to continue to do what they're doing for the sake of improvement. And that is what I see this song as. It is a song for this person, whether it is the singer himself or maybe a character in the song, as well as the people around this person that are dear to them, that this is not the end. We can push through it. And whenever maybe you're having a down day, maybe things just aren't working out, he promises you we'll keep going. He promises you we will survive. He promises you that even though we're a dying breed, we will not die. He promises all these things, and it is a mantra to keep going when things are down, to remember these words that are repeated over and over and over and drilled in throughout this song. And that idea of repetition, like I said, bleeds through the entire song. I mentioned it's 12 minutes, and even musically, there's not a lot of variation going on in here other than those moments of uh, laying down expectations and flipping on them. That, now that I'm kind of digging into these lyrics a bit, I don't think it has anything to do with the lyrical thing. I think it's more of just a rhythmic aspect to kind of improve some of these sections as far as attention goes. But yeah, I'd have to dig into it a second time and really listen and see if I can find a reason for their being with the themes of the song. Because thematically, I don't really see a place for them right now. I really enjoy them. I'm glad they're there. They don't detract from the themes, but I think if the drums and bass had stuck with the repetition, if the rhythmic elements had continued to be repetitive, just like the melodic and harmonic, it really could have drilled home this idea. Unless, of course, those are the moments of breaking free and moving out beyond the mud, or maybe it's trying the same thing over, or trying new things and always ending up in the same position. This idea of being stuck and not being able to move on and needing the motivation of the mantra to remind you not to give up. I suppose that's a good reading of it too. But I don't really have as much to back that reading up. Like I said, I would need another listen with that reading in mind. But yeah, aside from that, the entire song is built on these ideas of repetition and rhythm and going, not really going through the motions, but continuing to do what works. Um, and yeah, I think that idea just kind of comes through um, the lyrics as well as the way the vocals are done. It's not really something you think about too much in music, especially rock and pop and metal, because it's all riff based. It's based on loops. So when we hear looping music, it doesn't really draw our attention too much. But when you hear looping vocals, at least to me, there's a reason for it. It's kind of like in jazz when you're listening to a soloist and they're taking you on this fantastic journey, and then you stop and they loop and they loop and they loop, and maybe the drums and guitar, drums and bass, piano, your rhythm section notices and joins in for a couple of loops. You get that real nice synergy going on, but it's a statement. It's deliberate, and it's a stark contrast to what has come around it. Um, and that's what happened to me here. When he started looping those lines, I was like, okay, there's a tension being drawn to this. Let me check into what he's saying and let me see if I can, extrapolate this to more of the song. And both times that my brain, my attention was pulled to that, that's the idea that came to me as a mantra. And both times, those were the moments of positivity against a lot of the negativity that's in the verses, at least from what I heard. Like I said, the verses are where I really heard some of that regret, things that he wished he hadn't have done, or hadn't have said. So, yeah, yeah, those are. I really love how all of it kind of comes together, at least on a first time listen. As usual, I mean, I could be completely wrong in this reading. It happens. I've only heard the song once, and I'm trying to tie it all together. But I've been right in the past. I've certainly been wrong in the past as well with some of my interpretations of songs. But art's subjective, and that's where you guys come in, though. Let me know how you were subjected to the song. That was a terrible segue. Let me know if you enjoyed this or not. If it was up your alley, bounced off you. If you know the song, maybe there's an interview that you've seen or read and some explanation into it, hit me up. Maybe, you know, you have information, context for the track. I would love to hear it because I did enjoy this, even if it is a bit slow and repetitive. The vocals do carry a lot of the weight. They are given front and center in the mix. And I feel like I did miss a large portion of the intentions by not getting all of the lyrics. So I'm sure I missed something. When you're done commenting, you can head up to the description box. There's a link in there for Linktree. Everything is in there. Patreon, Discord, Twitter, spreadsheets if you want to see what bands we've checked out or what bands are coming up in special selections. That's the way to do it. All those links are in there. When you're done with that, like, subscribe, ring the bell. That's right above the description box. I'll be back tomorrow. Well, technically, I have another video out today. We have a bonus track for Pride Month. I wanted to get one done last week, but that did not happen. I'm going to get done one done today. We're going to get one done on each of the next weekends in June, and I'm going to try to pepper a couple throughout the week if I can. I'm aiming for 4 or 5. We got a ton of requests in the YouTube community post regarding LGBTQ bands or songs or artists. I'm not going to be able to get to them all, but I'm hoping to get to like 4 or 5 of them. So yeah, we got that one coming up. This is a 31-minute song, so it's already, this is a 31-minute video, so it's already uploaded. You can check it out right now. Otherwise, I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC, with next month's theme of non-English vocals. We're going to be looking at songs that have vocals in them, but they are not in English. And I think that's a fantastic way to explore music from other countries. Sort of a nice catch-all to explore some music that comes from, because we do listen to what I kind of perceive as a lot of well, it's kind of centralized music, huh? I'd say a lot of the music we check out is I don't know. I don't know the best way to word it, but I do know that the songs picked out for this week are all bands that we have not checked out much. 2 of them, I mean, the 2 that won, we've checked them out before, but I think everything else that we're going to get this week is going to be interesting. And there are also things I don't know if we would have got them otherwise. I don't know what themes they would have fit for. So, yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I like about doing this week is checking out stuff that just technically or typically would not fit into many of the themes. So I'm excited about that. All right, well, until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical though. And be critical but not cynical of the music you listen to. I don't even know how to sign off. My brain is not working today. Oh man. And have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.